Continuing our review of Alexandra Park, 31st running of the Woodlands Caduceus Club Classic. It's been won by some good horses over the years. I think we saw another very good one from an awkward draw on Friday night.
Lincoln Superstar, homeward bound, Smiley Sophie, kicking hard as Strawberry Stride, 2 lengths away, Rensky B, and here comes Spanish Armada. She fills the hopples beautifully out wide, and Spanish Armada whoosho with a Group 1 Woodland stud, Caduceus Club, 2-year-old fillies classic in the Jules colours. She bolts in. Smiley Sophie second, Rensky B third.
She's just getting better with racing, and that was some show of speed there.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Like she sort of worked that little bit hard early too, you know, like holding the back of them ones early when the burn was on. So credit to her, you know, and she was a bit fired up in the run. So when she got in the daylight and showed that amount of speed, I think she just showed her class.
Were you nervous a lap out because it was slightly precarious where you were positioned?
Very nervous a lap out, especially when the one in front of me was under pressure. So no, like to get sort of dragged back like that and then have to come wide, I just think her run was amazing.
241.9. I know we keep talking about records being broken. Maghera held this record back to 1996, so the best part of 20 years, and that's not the norm these days. Second and third behind Maghera. An Auckland Cup winner.
Kate's first, and excuse me.
Nice work, Michael. He's back on form.
I was there.
Did you look over my shoulder?
No,
oh, you were there?
I was there for that race. Yeah, Kate's first and excuse me.
Right.
I think Kate's first and a second and excuse me was 12 lengths away third. Yeah, but anyway, back. The record actually is pretty irrelevant because the fillies don't race over 2,200 metres that often.
Yep.
It's nice, but the performance was just wow. I mean, nothing went right. It was in the early burn, following through, got pushed back. Often in a juvenile race, fellas, that's just chaos. It's just no good to you. Between the 200 and the 100 metre mark, that's as fast as I've seen a 2-year-old filly go. She's got a huge motor. I'm not sure this is a great crop yet. Maybe they'll be good fillies in time to come, but she's just better than them, Craig. And it's just impossible to tip against her this week. In a race we're going to show you very shortly, the market, which is something I've never seen before, but just reviewing this one-horse race.
Well, it was a little bit lucky, boys. I mean, the stablemate didn't do any favours, dropped in its lap at the 800 metre mark, ready to fire. And it was a good drive for her to get back and 3 wide on the back of
almost
Memphis.
Simultaneously.
Simultaneously, great drive. But I don't read too much into the speed of the last half of the race. I mean, she's run a half in 61 seconds in winning that race. That's what they run, 60.9 the last 800 metres. So the damage was done early on. It attributed to her sitting back off the speed. She did over-race a little bit, so she still did a good job in winning. But let's put it into perspective that she came off a very hot speed with others worked. I thought the run of the third horse, Rensky B, was exceptional. What we didn't see in that video early on was she actually had a gallop at the 800 metre mark, came back down again and still ran on into third. But she's clearly the best. I agree with Michael, Spanish Armada, and I think the way the draws are panned up this week from a nice draw at barrier 4 or 5, she's going to be the one again.
Yeah, the surprising thing here was, just after that point there, Michael, Delightful Memphis had a dip for the lead, didn't get it. That really changed the way that race was run.
Look, and Delightful Memphis is obviously very, very fast. Put her in the trail in a Jules or this week and she gets a chance. But yeah, Spanish Armada looks to be going forward. Most of the rest of these seem to be sort of stuck there. She's on the Golden Cross too. Better's Delight out of a Christian Colour mare. We just see it so often at the moment. Another horse purchased by an Australian at the New Zealand sale. So that whole, you know, trans-Tasmanification of harness racing continues. Because,
nice word.
Yeah, well, thank you. I've used it before. But yeah, Jean Feast, lovely lady. She owns obviously Chase the Dream as well. So when you look at the field for this week, Dale, and we'll go to that now, fellas, this is remarkable. I've been following harness racing for a long time. I've never seen this before.
Just before we go to that, let's get the beaten drivers and then we'll have a look at those. Yes, we have.
You must have been busy on Friday.
Brent, you thought she'd improved enough to go a good race. You did exactly that.
Oh, I certainly did, Greg. You know, she's a good, tough filly, and for a third start up to go to 2,200 metres like that, and how tough she did it, yeah, very good run.
All right. With natural improvement again, you'll be looking to stay in the seat there.
Yeah, probably not. But, oh no, she's a nice filly, and yeah, I'm sure she'll get better too. She's got a bit of breeding beside her, so yeah, it'll be a nice filly.
Tim, another very creditable run.
Yeah, that's right. It was a gutsy run, and you know, she did her fair share of work in the middle, and you know, she was right there at the finish, and you know, a gutsy third.
Tony said no luck barrier draw wise or run wise.
No, for a good while, Greg. Actually, you know, a couple couple of bad draws and what have you, but tonight, like, we had to work a bit, and it just cost us probably being a fraction closer, but that's what you got to do, as we know, yeah.
With the size next week, with some luck, she can certainly fill another spot.
Yeah, and probably the run won't do her any harm. She's had a few soft runs, and a bit of a blowout like that one hopefully won't do her any harm.
Blair, clearly that race just didn't pan out any good for you.
Yeah, got a dream run through early, Greg, and, had a swish for the top, and, found out it wasn't there, and, he got settled back and got round again. But, to her credit, the work she done over the first 3 quarters of the lap, she's still gone good enough to run 5th or 6th.
Okay, so that's the lead up there to the Group 1 this week, which is the size, of course. We come back 500 metres though, so again the barrier draws will be imperative. But what about the numbers the All-Stars have here?
Well, what about the front row? You take out 1 and 2 because they're the ballots. Only Spirit of Delight is not a Purden Rasmussen runner. So 6 of the 8.
I would have never seen that.
No.
That 5 of the 6 runners from the same stable on a front line in a Group 1 race.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Outside Chris Waller, that may never have happened anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And what about having 7 in it? It's a staggering number. Okay, so Spanish Armada, do we just see her working forward, getting the lead, dominating?
Well, I think I'd rather take $1.45 about her than $1.40 Field Marshal, because she's 5 lengths better than these fillies on what we've seen so far, and maybe the only filly who's relatively close to her's got a second line draw in Delightful Memphis. Jewel on the Beach again, second line draw. It's just, I don't see any way, Craig, where she just doesn't roll to the front of the middle stage.
Yeah, 1700 is probably the little bit of the concern, because it's coming back in distance now, and she is drawn it second from the outside, albeit barrier number 5. So she'll have to work some stage to get there. What's an advantage is she's got stablemates all around her, so I'm not thinking they're going to lock her. Casino Bell, place chance, because she wasn't there last week, so she's the big improver, missing a race this week. And I thought Renska Beak, because I think to the second row, following through her stablemate's a good place for her to be. So maybe those ones placing more than the $1.45.
What did you describe Strawberry Stride's barrier draws as?
It's a similar Shandale scenario, isn't it? Just cops 13 or 12 in every draw she gets. I thought she was good last week, because of the Northerners, Greg, she drew a horrible draw. She was on the speed 3 wide, and I thought an effort to run 4th had a lot of merit.
Here's my prediction for this crop. We spoke a lot last week about the fact that so many of our best 3-year-olds don't race at 2-year-olds. You get the feeling there'll be something emerge from this crop we're not going to see this year, or race once, will come out and be a very good 3-year-old. I just get the feeling there's a lot of horses in this crop who are either underdeveloped, or maybe there's some at home somewhere which aren't, because there's no depth to this whole thing at all.
No.
All right, Markula, we need to have a look at him. First up, Alexandra Park. This was in the Lone Star Riccarton Sires Stakes, and he sat outside the lead, which was Conan Bridge, of course, and, well, he was simply too strong.
Highgate comes strongly on the outside of Temporale, and then Le Monde. It's Markula. Markula, the Derby winner in the Jules colours. Le Monde is flashing on the passing lane. Markula, first look at the park. Nice win. Markula too strong. Second was Le Monde, and then Temporale.
Continues to win them in a row, Michael, and sat outside them to do that. Conan Bridge obviously pulled too hard in that time. Highgate getting it wrong at the start. Phenomenal run from her. Her last mile was exceptional, the best of the race, and why wouldn't it be when she lost all that ground? Wilma's Mate, a little bit wayward round that bend.
Still hard to argue with the winner though, isn't it? I mean,
it is.
There's 2 things in the race. First of all, Highgate was exceptionally good, but that's her fault. It was her fault she galloped. Natalie took the blame for it actually after the race. Got too keen, pulled her back off the gate, half chased her, she rolled into a gallop, which is remarkable because she's never run out of the first 2 ever in the past. But look, let's not detract from the winner. Here he is in the Harness Jewels colours again. Harness Jewels colours dominant the other night, as they will be this week. He hasn't been overusing him out of the gate, Clint Ford. It's a funny thing. Because Clint Ford doesn't drive that often, it's easy to think he's a weakness for the horse. I can't think of anything he's done which has been anything but inch perfect. He went forward, couldn't get the lead, sat there controlling the speed outside a horse who probably is a bit weaker than Markula, and he was just too good. This is a very good horse, boys. How far he goes in life, he looks like he's going to make a good 4- and 5-year-old, but he's better than these, with the little exception that maybe Highgate could get him if she behaves herself. But Craig, the rest of them, he's just just dominated them now for too many starts for there to be an argument.
Totally concur on your statements about Clint Ford's driving, because I know he locked Dexter Dunn at Addington. Now that's, for a guy that doesn't drive that much, that's a big call, and that eventually won him that race. Last week I thought he showed a lot of character of staying out of the rush early on. peeling off at the right time to sit parked out because he's such a good stayer.
And he does have good gate speed. We saw it at Addington. He led from
but
wide
because he was unknown right-handed, only having one little workout there a week earlier, I think he wanted to get out of the rush here. He just wanted to make sure that he had time to find his feet. And I think it was a smart move. Now, this week, 2,700, I think it will suit him better. It's interesting because the Sundowns, they can be very fiery. This bloke's not. He just looks like just a horse that settles underneath him, driven perfectly. And he's won nicely. He's got barrier 2 this week, Greg. Very hard to tip against him. He hasn't been beaten since November 2015, this horse. He's having a great run at the moment.
Yep, he certainly is. And of course, that was at Kaikoura, I think, ironically,
absolutely.
wasn't it? Yeah, where, of course, his roots come from. Okay, let's have a look at the Northern Trotting Derby. And it is with Brecon Farms, of course, and the two best, supposedly, have drawn alongside each other again. Now, he has a chance to join the other 15 horses that have done the size into the Northern Derby double. 5 horses have done the treble, so he has a very good chance of doing that as well, Michael. What that tells me is that we generally find that a horse, particularly trotters in form, go on and win both.
Yep, 100%. 3-year-old trotters, often we see these huge domination streaks. I think anybody could write the script to this race. You would expect Mark Cooler at some stage to be going forward and trying to wrest the lead off either Highgate or Conan Bridge, if they push the button on Conan Bridge. Do you start parking this horse out now, or do you start saying, no, our best chance is to have him in front of us and we'll try and passing lane him? Conan Bridge can't outstar him, no doubts about that. The question's Highgate. In the last 100 metres last week, what worries me about backing Highgate this week, and I backed it last week, got it wrong, happy to say that. Mark Cooler's jogging at the end of last week's race. Clint hadn't turned the whip, just easy stuff. Highgate was flat out. She'd emptied the tank as she had to do because she was the favourite chasing. You get the feeling Mark Cooler will bounce out of last week better than Highgate will. Highgate potentially could sit on his back, which would make the race really interesting, but at the moment for me, Mark Cooler's better than Highgate. What do you boys think?
Well, I totally agree. I think Mark Cooler's the best 3-year-old in the country. But what gets me is last week we highlighted the 250 being too short for Mark Cooler. Well, I've got him 220 this week in a race where he's better drawn. He's getting a better trip over 2,700 metres. I'd take the 220 now because I don't reckon he'll pay 220 on the day. I know Highgate's on his back, potentially, but I think he's such a good stayer. Yeah. And for me, I think he stands out. The one I do want to talk about, boys, is Le Monde. I think he's a very, very underrated 3-year-old that's not mentally there yet, but physically he's got the ability to at least push himself up the Harness Jewels ranks and be a contender in 6 weeks' time. I thought his run last week after being held up behind Conan Bridge around that last bend was very, very good. And he's made up a length on the eventual one.
And of course, where he's drawn,
he follows out
on
Highgate.
The markers. You know what you say about those
over 2,700.
Yep.
What about, where do we see Wilma's mate? Because clearly the motor's big enough. She looks like she's just in that little spot at the moment where she doesn't trust herself, and therefore I can't trust her.
No, I can't trust her either, and particularly the way she got around that last
And also
bend.
she's no value. She's $7 from the outside of the gate. To be honest, she should be double that.
Yeah, well, she'll be 20 on the toe.
Yeah. All right. 4 Group 1s we have at Alexandra Park. Make sure you tune in, get all the action. Of course, we've got the size and the Neville from Addington, which we'll have a look at
Here's
a little bit later
for you.
on.
Will all 4 Harness Jewels colours horses win? The 4 favourites, will they all get it done?
Hard to argue that they won't, considering they did last week, and most of them have drawn better, bar Mombay.
Well, I'm thinking Spanish Armada of the 4 would be my most unlikely to win. Purely, I think it's the best filly in there. I think it's flying at the moment. My concern is the barrier draw and also 1,700 metres.
Okay, all right. What do you think?
I think Field Marshall's probably the most vulnerable, but if he leads, he isn't. So.
Yeah, well, I think he'll lead, so therefore he won't be. All right, Rangiora Classic. Gee, it was a good day out there on Sunday. The return of the $2.3 million earner. Dexter Dunn did what nobody really expected him to do, even though he'd done it in a Victoria Cup, and that was blast off the gate. And this is what he did in the straight.
Of the big horse, it's Lockerburn leading. Chris and Me's a length and a half away. Lockerburn's in front. Chris and Me's half a length away. Getting it after Lockerburn. Lockerburn and Chris and Me. The war we expected. Chris and Me's gone to the lead, and the missing star of the harness racing galaxy. He's been found. Chris and Me beat Lockerburn. They streeted the rest.
We come in expected to go good, but we didn't expect them to go that. But that's the difference between the good ones and the very good ones.
Tactical brilliance, a piece of that by your driver Dexter Dunn. A lot of people have forgotten that he led the Victoria Cup because the way he got off the machine today, just another reminder of the arsenal this horse has.
Yeah, so because it's, Dex has driven for me a million times and I never tell him what to do and never will. But the only thing we did say, well, there's one horse to beat us and he'll beat us to fitness. So we didn't want to be sort of 7th and then he getting going at the 1,000. So I said, well, we'll do something that no one else expects us to do. So and it worked for the good.
306.5 equals Lockaburn's record. How's he seemed back there, or he had a chance to get back there, because there've been plenty of well wishes?
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's amazing you take on it's amazing to sort of try and sum up of how good he is when the people come and ask him about him and see him today, and for the return when it was real good. So we've realised he's good.
What about the plan from here, Cran? Obviously there's a Len Smith Mile potentially on the radar, and on that performance, why wouldn't you go there? And then sunning yourself in Queensland would be quite a nice option through the winter.
Yes, I'm having a bit of a tug of war with our travelling foreman Murray Howard. He's booked all his tickets, he said. So, but yeah, they're definitely on the radar, and that makes it sort of a bit more of a bonus to see what he's done today, that he's obviously still going to be competitive.
Through that, not a lot of time to have much of a break before preparing him for what has still got to be the ultimate goal, that second Tuesday in November. Is that how you see it?
Yes, well actually a good yardstick is for a Smolder, because basically his season was moved 5 minutes aside, exactly how we're sitting now. Last year, and he come back and just went down in the Cup, so it can be done.
All right, well congratulations to you, Murray, Dexter, and of course the ownership team as well, because they've been pretty patient. Mr. Roberts will be sitting up north and looking on, and I'm sure he's delighted, along with Vicky Purdon. So a total team effort, because this horse certainly deserves that, doesn't he?
Yeah, definitely. You summed it up. A total team effort. We've had a lot of ideas and things have gone into getting him back here today, and it's just come to fruition.
Fruitation, Michael. I'd just like you to take me through. We know what he meant to say, fruition.
As a man who's bastardised the English language a lot myself, I respect Cran's use of the word fruitation, and I loved his shirt.
Yeah.
It's good to have him back. The Clown Prince of harness racing, a great horseman. It was a big training performance, 3.6.5, equalling the national record, fresh up with a 7-year-old. Good on you, Cran. Good to have the big fella back. I wasn't surprised by Dexter's drive at all. I think the same thing as Field Marshal this week. When you have a horse, you're not sure about the distance. For this reason, fitness concerns, easiest place to be is in the marker picks. If you've got the gate speed, go forward, dominate the race, and then get an easy run. I thought it was a masterly drive. Thought the second horse was absolutely outstanding. John Darnell copped some criticism for staying in front with Mighty Flying Mac, but that's how he drives them all the time. I mean, sometimes you've got to break a few eggs to make an omelette. He wasn't going to win that race, but he'll probably win a race in 2 weeks' time at Addington, because no one will attack him because they know he didn't end up the Lockerburn.
Yeah.
So the whole race panned out pretty much as I thought it would. With Lockerburn there, boys, that performance was so good, that to me says he can win a New Zealand Cup more than an Easter Cup win. He was driven right to win the Easter Cup. Poor old Blair had no luck the other day, and he was absolutely super behind a genuinely great horse. So 2 fantastic horses, Craig. Lockaburn's goes to the paddock. Now, having Chris and me back is special, but makes sure it reminds us of what we've missed over the last 6 months.
Yeah, it does. On Lockaburn's performance, I mean, you take the winner out, who's a superstar. He's beaten the rest by an absolute margin, and in doing so, he was never on the track at any stage of that race. He got cover for 400 metres from the 1,000 metre mark to the 600, then he was 3 wide again. So to run 3.6, he's unbeaten over 2 miles. I agree with you, Michael. It's a tough year. New Zealand Cup year 2016 with the horses that'll be there, the likes of Lazarus, possibly Have Faith in Me and a few others. But this bloke, he's got the potential to win a New Zealand Cup, Lockaburn's.
Let's hear from the drivers, just in behind, of course, Chris and me.
Blair, they don't come much braver than that.
Yeah, very good effort, Greg. He's faced the breeze for majority of the race, and then had to sort of make another dab halfway down the back. But to his credit, he's really fought hard with Christian Me up the straight, and he's been beaten by a super horse in a 10 out of 10 drive by Dex.
Yeah, he did what most didn't expect at the start, and the only horse you didn't want stalking you coming down that last turn.
Yeah, I actually had an inkling Dex might have sort of cut the ribbons early with his high gate speed and only a small number across the field, and that's what he done, and he just put him in the right spot. So, Lockaburn's gone super, Greg, and looking forward to the campaign for the Cup.
Yeah, look, you haven't driven him to win yet in those 3 drives, but he's given you such a great feel. If you can get in that seat for the second Tuesday in November, I guess you'll be working hard on that.
Yeah, I have to hope they both stay sound, Christian Me and Lockaburn's, and obviously I just fill in when Dex is unavailable. So, if they both make it that day, wouldn't be a bad first one on them to get.
John, a tactical affair it turned out to be, and you run into a couple of superstars.
Yeah, I did. Wasn't expecting Chris and Me to come off the gate like that, and when he did, I sort of My designs were to lead before the race, and that's what I did. But yeah, it just come up against two very good horses.
Okay, he's done a great job though, finishing in third. What's the plan with him now? Are you thinking maybe Addington through May?
Yeah, there's a free-for-all and cup in the 14th, and then there's another stand. He'll be off 20 there a week later. So hopefully the two freaks that are lined up against today aren't there, and they'll be right.
So he holds or co-owns 4 national records and 31 from 51, Chris and me, but it was just a great race, and to have those 2 horses go to war, I think that's what people really love to see.
Yeah, look, fantastic horse, great to have him back. As I said, slightly sad he hasn't been around for the whole season. Here's the start of the race. Yeah, when you've got the gate speed your models will use, it got him an easy run. I wouldn't be surprised if he went to Addington in 2 weeks. Wouldn't be surprised. Big aim for him now is the Len Smith Mile on June 26th. And that would be a hell of a good race because it could be him against Lenny the Shark, who ran second to in the Victoria Cup, Inter-Dominion champion, of course, Victoria Cup winner. Arms of an Angel, third in the Miracle Mile, and Bow Tide, who trialled yesterday. Now, that'd be a great race for winter for us to get our teeth into. Then potentially the Brisbane Carnival. You can't go everywhere though. The big question mark for this horse is going to be this. Does Cran want to win a New Zealand Cup? Or does he want to win it Inter-Dominion? I think the second one suits him better than the first one, particularly because the New Zealand Cup could have Arden Rooney, Have Faith in Me, Huey Green, the Orange Agent and Lockerboon. If I had a choice between the New Zealand Cup and the Inter-Dominion, Lazarus, I would go Inter-Doms. I think he's a better Inter-Dominion horse.
I wonder if there's been a Huey Grant. Yeah. Is there a racehorse, Huey Grant? Come on.
If you had a choice, if he was your horse, Chris and me, New Zealand Cup, Inter-Dominion.
New Zealand Cup for me.
Yeah, I think a New Zealand Cup. I think it's a race that Cran's obviously desperate to win, and I think if he gets him back in the form that he showed winning on Sunday, he's a big chance of doing it.
All right, there's a lot to happen between now and November. Short break for us. When we come back, we'll talk some harness duels.